Hey guys, how you doing? Ron Zanette here. Well, we're getting ready now to get started on the build with the Case Labs Mercury S3 case with Pedestal. And what you see on the table is some of the initial parts here. So when I get started here, I need to do a couple of things. Since I'm going to be custom making cables, you can see inside that window, you can see everything in there. So in order to keep the clutter down, I need to, I don't have space to hide cables out of the way. You're going to see everything that's inside of that case except for what's down in the pedestal. But power supply cables, I don't have the luxury of hiding them out of the way. So I need to ensure that they're not a lot laying around, and in order to do that, I've got to make my own custom lengths. So I have the Seasonic X750 that I'm going to, remove the connectors from, especially the ones going into the power supply, since they're custom for that power supply, and depin that, and then create my own cables with sleeving. That's the MDPC-X sleeving that I have there, and I'm going to have to measure those custom lengths and then sleeve them up. So I need to do that first. Put the motherboard in the case and take some measurements. I'm also going to have to measure the power going to the GPU and power to the hard drives, and then the power going down to the bottom for the fans and the pump. That you won't see, but I will be sleeving that, so when it disappears down there, it'll look nice and clean and uniform like all the rest. So the one thing that I don't have figured out yet is the color coordination. How much, how many wires will be black and gray and blue in the build. So I need to figure that out, and I'll probably just show you how I crimp maybe one cable for the connector. I'm not sure yet, but you see on the table there the strip tool, the crimping tool, some wire, some pins, the sleeving, and of course the other key pieces, the Titan and the motherboard and the RAM. Now I've got to test those. I haven't tested them all together. So before I, finalize anything, I want to make sure that they're all good. I don't have an issue with them. That motherboard, the Z77 Mini-ITX, I used to have in a home theater PC, so I know that works with the processor. And then the G-Skill RAM is 16 gig. That's new RAM, 2133 megahertz. So I need to put that on it, make sure that all works, and then of course make sure that the Titan fires up. So once I take some measurements, I will then move the motherboard and the RAM, and I'll put a Titan on the test bench and check it out. Make sure that everything comes up and looks good, and then we'll continue on with the build. And then off camera doing the build, you won't see me making cables. That's going to be kind of boring, but I will then begin to populate the base with radiators, and you'll see the rest of it come together. So, all right, with that, that's the plan. Let's get started and take that pedestal off and get some dimensions for cabling from the motherboard. So I'll be installing that motherboard, and I'll show that to you right now. All right, we have the S3 on the bench now, and what I got to do is remove the top portion, the S3 actually, from the pedestal. So I'm going to get down there and do that. Before I do that, though, I'm probably going to remove the pedestal radiator bracket so it's easier to get my screwdriver in there. Now, to remove the radiator mounts, it's just 4 screws. And it's really nice that Case Labs designed it with this pin right here. So, I mean, taking it out is nothing, but when you have a radiator and fans mounted on there, and then you got to try to put screws in. When I put it back in, it'll be nice. You'll be able to see that these pins come in handy. So, got one mount off. All right, got radiator mounts off the pedestal. Now there's 4 screws. They're located here, one here, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah, there's one here, and then in the 4 corners. So I'm just going to go ahead and and do that to remove the pedestal. All right. Now we have the pedestal unsecured from the S3. We got the screws for it right there. All right. So let's see here. Next thing up is motherboard tray. Let's get that assembled, the motherboard together, and then we'll put it on the tray. But before I put the motherboard on, I'm going to put the power supply in. Now, this guy is already small and compact. I love that. And the fan is at the bottom, so I'm going to leave it at the bottom. I'm going to mount it in the case just like this. Now this is just being mounted in here just for measuring of the cables. One of the things that I will be doing is, I believe I'm going to wrap this guy in D-Knock. So from the side you'll be able to see, since this is gold here and not silver, that would have been nice if they would have had it in silver. But I'm going to wrap it in D-Knock, so the top and the sides will be prettied up just a little bit. So let me get some screws for the power supply to get it mounted. Alright, have the power supply installed. Gets mounted with your standard screws. I got 4 of them here. And you can see the case does have the options if you wanted to flip it around. No problems. So it's installed, and one of the things you'd be able to see, it sits off by about 1/2 inch off the bottom. So there's plenty of good airflow that you can get. And especially if you wanted to put a fan filter or something underneath there between here and your power supply. And of course you see that the case bottom has the honeycomb for allowing that air to be drawn in. So I've got them mounted here. Now let's get the motherboard together, and we'll put it on the tray. Let's take the tray out. There's 4 screws to remove the tray. 1, 2, 3, 4. Socket head that I use to tighten down motherboard standoffs into motherboard trays, and they actually give you an extra one. Alright, and the screws to mount the motherboard. Now let me get the motherboard out, and let's get the make sure everything is on there, get the RAM on there, and then we'll fit them in. So what I did here is I removed the front 6 bay flex bay. This is where I'm going to mount some fans inside of this, but it gets removed by removing these 8 4 thumb screws on this side and 4 on this side, and then the tray comes out. So I did that so you'd be able to have a better view. And also I also took out the two screws that held in the top ventilated 5 1/4 inch bay, because a fan controller is going to go up there. So just to give you a better view of what's going on. Now, one of the things that I noticed here is that, of course, on the Seasonic, if you've used them before, the connectors going into the power supplies in Mini have 2 connectors. Now, in this power supply, that's located right here on this side of the motherboard tray. So you see right here, and now for the main power, it actually will cross over and go right here. Now I'm going to custom create my own cable, but rather than have it coming across, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the power supply over so that these 2 connectors are down here and they come straight up. I think that'll look better. And since I'm going to de-knock the side of this, it doesn't matter what letter or writing's on there. So let me flip it around and let's take a look and see, you know, how much better that lines up. So you can see we're going from here to here. So let's flip it around, take a look. All right, I have flipped it around. So you see the power supply now is flipped around, so the fan is drawing in air from the top, and there's still plenty of space and plenty of room to bring air to it. And there's also obviously the space at the bottom. But now, when we're talking about creating a cable, this cable right now is directly below this. So that's perfect. I'm going to take the measurements this way and then create a cable that basically will loop up with individual, you know, individually sleeved, but it'll come right into the motherboard right there. So all right, now let me get out the pieces that are gonna help me measure up what that dimension is. All right, so to get started measuring the wires that I need for my power supply, I cut a few lengths of wire, and really all I needed was one, and I measured the distance between, you know, I basically just took a wire, stuck it in the 24 pin port on the motherboard, and then I ran it to the various, to the connectors on the power supply that I'm going to have to plug in there. Now for the Seasonic, what they do is they take the 24 pin that goes into the motherboard and they split it out into two. It's a 16 pin and a 10 pin header. So they're split down here on the power supply. Now it was a little tricky, well not too tricky, but at least obviously they're color coded. And so what I did is I created a map for each pin, 24 pins, and then going to the 10 and to the 16. And I created a map, and I also listed the colors of the wires. And then, you know, I checked to make sure which pins they went to. So pin 24 is a black wire on the 24 pin, and it goes to the 10 pin header connector number 3. Okay, so I verified the color coding, and also I went in and I used the multimeter and I checked and triple checked each of the pinouts to make sure that I had the right ones, and I also checked to make sure that one pin here didn't go to more than one on here, and it did. There's a couple, there's obviously 24 pins here, and 10 and 16 is 26, so there's a couple of pins that went to two places, and actually there's even one empty one. So I mapped all that out, so I have now the actual you know, source and destination of where my custom cable is going to be when I plug them into the headers. And then I went through, and like I said, I measured using some wire the distance between, it's going to be a short little run, you know, just between the connector and right down here, so it's going to be nice, should be nice and clean. And one of the connectors goes down further, so that had to be about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, I forget, longer, I wrote it down. But so I'll have two different lengths of wires going from up here down to the header that's closer to it, and then the other one that's further away. So I have all the dimensions, and now it's just a matter of crimping the, you know, stripping, cutting a bunch of wire, stripping the wire, and crimping the pins, and then getting into the sleeving, which I haven't started yet. Now originally I was going to remove these connectors and reuse them, but they're standard Molex connectors. For some reason I thought they were unique to Seasonic, but they're not. They're standard, you know, 10 pin and 16 pin here, and then your standard 24 pin. So I decided, I first started de-pinning these here, but that takes a while and it can be a pain in the ass. I have the right tool, but you know what, I'm just going to leave this alone and I've bought the connectors, so I've ordered them. They're not here yet, so I won't be terminating them anyway, but I still have to go through and strip and crimp the wires. So that's something I'll do pretty much off camera. I might show you one or two crimps, but I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be a cable making or sleeving video. And I did the same thing for the 8-pin EPS cable. I ran it from the position on the power supply up underneath, and it's going to come up and loop around right into the connector on the motherboard. So I measured the length of the wires I need for that, and then I you know, also did a pin out, and this was very straightforward for these guys. There's nothing to it. And double checked everything with the multimeter, and also just to make sure I actually got the real pin outs, the Molex power connection for those cables. And you know, I have those tables that they're available online all over the place. So that is it for the dimensioning of the 24 pin power and the 8-pin power. I still have to deal with you know, the SATA power cable and the graphics, the PCI Express. So, but I'll do that once I get those devices installed in there and I can actually get an accurate measurement. So cabling is going to be something that I do as I go through the build. So right now the key pieces from the motherboard are identified, and I'm going to now move on to take the motherboard, mount the memory on it, and put it into the test bench and check it out with the new memory and the Titan. One of the things, actually, what I'll do while I have it here is I'm not sure which water block to put on this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mock fit it. I'm just going to place it on top. I'll put the panels back on it, and I'll show you. And then I'm sure I won't be getting to putting all the water blocks on in this video. So you guys can tell me, leave a post, a comment underneath, or go to my Facebook page and tell me what you think, because I'll be posting it there as well. Take a picture and tell me which one looks better. So let me get that out and we'll take a look at that. All right, so here's option 1 for the water block on the CPU. This is the nickel plexi version of the CSQ EK Supremacy block. Now remember, on the RAM there I'm going to have some of the also the EK CSQ nickel plexi RAM water blocks on top of it. So I'm thinking the two together, and the coolant that's going to be running through here is going to be the plan right now is some blue coolant. So I'm thinking the two together probably look good. And here's a shot from the side with the windows on, and you'll see some reflection because of all the lights. Now I don't have anything on the front here, but so we have this or this. Now I have to say that really is a sharp looking block, and so I don't know if it really matters with the RAM having the frosted top, or actually I'm going to polish it down so it'll be a clear top on the RAM, seeing the coolant. And then we have the full nickel block here, the Supremacy. So that's the other option. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? The full nickel? And maybe it's not fair to judge without having the RAM block next to it, but it's either going to be this or this. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think, and post a note below, or go to my Facebook page and let me know what you think. So now what I'm going to do is move the CPU motherboard, put some RAM in there, and let's get it up on the test bench right over there, and fire it up and make sure everything's working okay with the motherboard, the RAM, and the processor. Here we have the Z77E ITX motherboard on the Phobia WayCool-T test bench. This is an awesome test bench that handles everything that you can throw at it, all the way up through HTPX motherboards as well. But boy, doesn't it look so tiny on there. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I've got the 2133 megahertz Ripstars X G-Skill RAM on the motherboard. Just put the standard cooler on there for now. I could water cool it. This bench is set up for that, but I didn't put the plate underneath the CPU to mount a block with it yet. So for now, just to fire it up, make sure that motherboard is fine, processor's good, memory is recognized, and I get around to it, I'll maybe even load the operating system on the disks separately on the test bench here and see how they go. So let me fire it up and let's take a look and see if we got motherboard, memory, and everything recognized. All right, we have the power on. Let's see, the display's on, powers to the motherboard, keyboard, and all we have is just the display, keyboard, and mouse connected. Let's see if we get We have CPU going. And we have shutdown. Now the G.Skill RAM would not allow it to boot. Yes, we have RAM booted. There's 16 gig there, two 8 gig modules that we have for from the Hyper Beast set. This is actually going to be using another system, this memory, so I got some bad RAM. And what do you know? At least it looks that way. So processor is booted up, 3570K, right amount of RAM, and everything else seems to be okay. Alright, so let me get some RMA information going, and we know at least the motherboard and the current RAM setup works. Alright, well, we just got some Kingston Hyper X Performance memory. This is 2133 megahertz RAM, so I'm going to two 4 gigabyte sticks. So we're going to put that on the Mini-ITX motherboard, see if this RAM works. Remember, we tried the G.Skill 2133 and that would not let it boot. I have some 1600 megahertz of Xer that works fine, and I did try some Hyper Beast from Kingston, and that worked just fine too. So if this works, this is the RAM that's going to go on there, and we'll let it run for a while, and then actually we'll take off the skins on it and put the Dominator skin so I can put a water block on it. Alright, so now that we know the motherboard and the processor check out good, and the G.Skill RAM checked out bad, I got to send that back. But anyway, that was the purpose of doing the testing. So what we're going to do now is take those radiators out of the boxes and get them flushed so that there's no residue from manufacturing left in them, and we can put them into the pedestal base and get rolling with assembly of that. So let me take them out of the boxes and flush them out. Well, in case you're not familiar with the Nexus UT60 full copper 280 millimeter rads, let's open up the box and take a look at them and check them out. So first of all, let's take a look at the accessories. One thing Alpha Cool does is they have their copper, signature copper on them, so all of the screws that come with them are all copper. These are all metric screws, and then plugs. And if you'll notice, there's actually 5 plugs that come with it. And no, they're not extra, but they're at least 2 full sets of screws for fans. And so those are the accessories. And let's take a look at the rad. Now the rads have a nice, beautiful finish, nice and smooth. One of the things that I don't know if you can see it, that are really cool about Alpha Cool rads, and other rads are doing it. There's a plate underneath where the screws come through that prevent the screws, if you were to push them too far, from damaging the fins. So there's actually a plate underneath each of the corners, so that's a really nice feature. They have the it's a nice matte black finish, or a kind of a satin finish, I guess, with Alpha Cool logo on either side. And then here, one of the things I really like about them is that you, depending on where you need to mount them, you pretty much have access points on the top, on the end cap, on that side, and on this side. So and then also they provide one at the other end, so you can actually do a cross flow, or you can use this to drain out. But that's why there's 5 plugs, because there are 5 ports on these radiators. So so that's what it looks like. Now let's bring it over and set it up to be flushed. And one of the things I will need to do is put those plugs in, all but 2. So let's do that and get set up for a flushing. Alright guys, so real quick, this is the flushing setup. In that bucket I have a pond pump and some tubing coming from the pump into some, I'll show you some quick disconnects. So in the pump, I have it coming out to this quick disconnect, and I have female here, male here. I'll connect it up to the rad. Then coming out of the rad, I have another one, and that connects up to the filter, and then out of the filter back into the bucket. So that's the setup. I'll put the link up. I think it was Lazy Man that originally did this. That's who I got it from, and there's distilled water in that bucket. And so basically I have that pump just take and flush through the radiator for about 10-15 minutes or so. So right now we got it going. And you should see some bubbles flowing, and it's starting to push the coolant through. That's the distilled water. So there it is, pumping. We'll let it go for about 10-15 minutes or so. Here, I'll take it off real quick so you can take a look inside. It's about a $20, $25 pond pump. Some tubing from Home Depot. Quick disconnects from coolants. Filter from Home Depot. Some more tubing. And that's it. Bucket from Home Depot. Paint bucket. Anyway, so that's how I flush. I flushed quite a few radiators, so that setup was worth the investment. You can probably do it simpler. And I'll put the link up for those of you who are interested in getting a little more detail than I just gave you. But I've done this before in many of my other videos, so I'm not going to go through it again here. So have been flushed. It's time to assemble them onto the rad brackets and get them mounted into the pedestal base. One of the things I need to do is find the fittings and the connections to get them connected. So we'll go through that. I have a plan, and let me illustrate it for you, and I'll put them together. All right, so now I'm going to mount the radiator brackets, and then I'll position the rads in there so you can get a look at the space between where the radiators will be. And if I need to, I'll mount them on here. But right now the idea is to position them so I can find the right spacers and extensions to connect the rads together. So what I did is I took off the front panel here so that you'd have a good view in here. And so for right now I'm going to go ahead and put the rad brackets in, and it takes you position them, and they've got these great guide pins, and then all you need to do, especially when you have those guide pins there, it's so nice because then you just gotta, okay, it is nice, you just put your screws in there, and especially if you have a heavy rad on there, and you'll see when I do it later, you can just hold it on there and secure it in there. So I'm just going to do that side, and then I'll do this side here.
Mr. Homeworker. Stop eating my sesame cake. Eating my sesame cake.
I have the rad mounts mounted on both sides. I just have the top two screws in for now. And the radiators would then be mounted against that bracket. So I'm just going to put it flush up against the bracket. And let's get the other one out. think I might have to tack them on there, but let's see. Yeah. Let's see if you can see from the top. Let me get a ruler out and we'll take a measurement of that space between them. And that's the space I got to make up for those two. Alright, so what I did is I removed the front panel so you can see. And I've got two UT60 280mm rads in there. And you can see how much space there's enough to put the pump in. And I'll be putting the fans on the outside, so this one will be a push and then the other side will be a pull. So I won't have any fans in the middle because that's where the pump and the drain plug will be. And the distance between the two is basically, looks like a little bit about 80mm. So I need to find the fittings that I can connect the two here, because I'll have the output of the pump going into one, then flowing through the other one and coming out of the other one, and then going up into the S3 and feeding the system. And then the res will be coming right back down and through into the pump there. So I've got a bunch of fittings that I had planned to use, and so I need to find the ones. I think it was going to be a D plug, maybe with some extensions that was actually going to create this here. And so actually it's probably going to be better if I actually mount the rads to the bracket. So so it's a little bit easier because I have to deal with these plugs right here. And I got to position it to see if this is going to be hitting this bracket in any way. So I might have a little bit less than 80mm to deal with. So to have the real fitting information, I'm going to go ahead and take the brackets out, and I'll mount a rad to it, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, you know what, the more I think about it, since I'm actually going to mount them in here, I will go ahead and put the fans right on top of them. So I have the Casa Apache Black 140mm fans, and I'm going to go ahead and mount them through the bracket and into the radiator, and then I'll mount it all up. So this side here is going to be the push, so we'll start it this way, and let's see here, let's get the cables situated. Alright, now I'm going to have these cables running up through the front here because the fan controller is going to be up in the top, and I have an Akasa set of cables. So this fan splitter cable that actually handle five fan headers, and they all have 4 pins as well. So I'm going to take the 2 from each of these, and they'll run to this splitter and then run that up to the fan controller. And they're nicely sleeved and all that. They'll be out of the way, so it's going to be nice. And I got this is a nice cable, beautiful, nice long length too, and from Performance PCs, of course. All right, so let's see. We've got some screws here. All right, I'm not going to bore you with the screwing in fan, so I'll cut back after I have it assembled. All right, have the fans mounted onto the rad. I have the cabling down out of the way, and now I'm going to again show you the beauty of the design of the pedestal and some other areas that Case Labs does this in. They put that nice set of pins there to hold the radiators in place, so I can put the screws in. Now, isn't that special? Okay, we have the pedestal there. I'll just keep the cables down out of the way here for now, but they will wind up going down and through. And now let's do the same thing on the other side for this rad. So I'll spare you the unscrewing for right now. One of the things that I should point out about this rad bracket is, you notice there's a lot more metal space up here than there is in the back. So this is to the back of the, you could actually put it this way if you wanted to as well. You could flip it around, but for the way I'm doing it, the space that I have the fittings going to is near the front of the rad. So I'm going to be mounting it just like this to put inside the side of the pedestal. Now, the screw holes this is a universal rad you can use either for 120 fans or 140s. These up here, or these slotted ones, are the mounting points for 140 millimeter fans. These small circular ones are for the 120s. So what you do is, if you have your fans, what I do is I'll leave one off, and what I can do then is line up the holes for the 140s, and then find at least one that connects, and then I screw it in. So I got the rest of these the screws for the Akasa Apache Black fans mounted on this side, and like I said, the air is going to be pushed through the other side and then pulled through this side. So that's why I have these fans mounted this way. They're going to be dressed down and out of the way, and I will tag them up here, but now let's mount this inside here. Alright, so I've got the rads both mounted. Alright, now let me dig through this bag of tricks and find the right setup of fittings. And here, might as well have some fun. You can watch me dump it all out. So we've got some D-plugs, and we have some more D-plugs, and we should have some extensions in here. Let's see. Rotaries, we got rotaries. And we have more D-plugs, drain valve, some blocks. There we go, here's some extenders. So we've got some extenders here. Alright, so let me piece together some pieces, and then we'll see if we can get that these connections between these guys. What I've weeded down now out of my bag of Bits Power Tricks is a bunch of extenders that I bought. I have 4 20 millimeter extenders, I've got 4 15 millimeter extenders, and I've got two 25 millimeter extenders. Now the space I needed to make up, like I said, is 80 millimeters. So if I use 2 15s, that's 30 of the 80, or 2 20s, of course, that's half of it, that's 40. The 25s, I only have 2 of them. I think I'm going to save those. I don't think I need to use those. So if I've got 30 or 2 20s in there, that leaves me 40 to 50 millimeters I need to make up. I did plan to use D-plugs in this build, and I have plenty of other places to use them, but those are 1 inch, so those are 25 millimeter. But I did think far enough ahead, and I got a dual adjustable Aqualink pipe, which is 41 to 69 millimeters. So I think, if I need to make up 50 mil, that's right in the middle of this pipe's length. So I think that is what I'm going to do. So a couple of 15s in this. Let me open these guys up, and then we'll take a look at it, and we'll do a quick mock fit and see if it works. Alright, so what I did now is I started it on this side of the rad. On this rad here, I put the link, the Aqualink on this side, and I'm tightening it up really good as best I can right now. And now I've got it in this fitting, and this is a lot easier to screw in. So actually, starting it with the link on this side, and now screwing, I guess I'll have to secure that up in a minute. Alright, so I've got them on here. Now the multi-link, the Aqualink, and then this is now going to be tightened up. Okay. So let me tighten it up. All right. So it looks like that's the connection there. Then I'm going to take the in from the pump the out of the pump going into this rad. And the reason why I'm going to have it going into the bottom is to move up any air that's in the radiator naturally, push it up and out. So it's going to go in, go across, and then force it down through on this guy here. And then I'm going to bring it out up into the S3. Now I'm not sure whether this is the side I'm going to bring out or this one, so let me go get the S3 and set it on top and find out where the center point is so that I can do that. And then the next thing will be to assemble the pump and the pump top with the pump and position it inside the case here. Alright, now let's take a look up top. We have the S3 sitting up on top of it. Probably give you a good idea to see if I take it off. Alright, so you can see, let's have a look and see down here, the access point to the S3 is right here. So taking the motherboard is going to be sitting up here with the RAM and the RAM blocks, so bringing the coolant up into the RAM blocks is probably going to be best served by doing it on this side. So I think what will happen is it's going to come off of this port here on the rad, and then it's going to go, it's going to come up. It's going to come up and up through, up to here. So I'm going to have to arrange to get some fittings to bring the multi-link tubes, because I'm going to be using E22 tubing. And my plan is to have it come through and then come all the way up to feed the memory block, and then the CPU block, then over to the GPU block, and then you'll see the reservoir towers that I have planned to sit right up in this space right here, and that'll be bringing it back down into the to the pedestal. All right. So yeah, so we've got the aqua pipe. It's a good deal. I like that. I probably should have bought a few more of those, but right now down underneath, that's not a connection I wanted to use the E22, the acrylic tubing for. That is going to be all hard fitting down here. When you start bringing it up into the case, that's where you're going to see it all, and that's going to be the acrylic tubing. All right, so yeah, I think that's coming along good. Now let's get the pump together and make sure it fits in between that space down there. Alright, now let's see. We have a pump top. We're going to see if this all fits. We have a nice pump top here with an O-ring that I am going to replace with a blue O-ring, because I plan to have blue coolant in this. So you can see that through the top, although it's going to be buried down here anyway, but still, I will know it and you will know it. So we're going to have a blue O-ring in there with the clear top. And then we have the mod kit. Now the mod kit I'm using is a black one. Again, it's in the base. I did not get any colored one, because nobody's really going to see it. And we'll have it mounted there. We have the pin extractors. Alright, and then we have the pump. So I guess right now, let's just for fit purposes, we're going to put the mod top on. Let's see, out of the pump, I'm just going to go feeding one of these. So this is how we're going to do it. And then the end's going to come from reservoirs up top. And what do you know, it just fits. So basically that's that's the plan. And it has, what, maybe 10 mils on each side, maybe? Maybe not even that. All right. All right, so we have the pump now in between the rads. And it's centered just about, yeah. So we'll have reservoir feeding into the pump top. And of course the pump top coming out and feeding the ports into the radiators and then coming out. And then we're going to come back up through the space and then over to the RAM blocks and the CPU and everything. And then returning to the reservoir down into the pump. So that's the loop plan. And let's get you back on here. Alright, well that's it right now. We've got to get the pump sleeved and reassembled, and then we'll get it mounted into the base there and some fittings and stuff. I'll take you through that in the next video to get that pedestal done, and then we'll move on to building into the top of the S3. So that's it for now. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and please favorite, and if you're so inclined, please subscribe. That's it from Ron the Nut. Thanks for watching.